right, good afternoon and welcome to our Zoom with the Greater Vancouver Zoo. We are here with Kat and Chuva, who are going to take us on a bit of a journey around the zoo. And Kat's going to tell us what we are going to do. So Kat, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in into the Greater Vancouver Zoo. As Haley mentioned, my name is Kat. And right now, Chuba and I are on top of the giraffe deck, and we have our two Rothschild giraffes in sight. And what we're doing today is we're going to take Chuba on a little adventure and educate her on some of the animals we have here around the zoo. Thought it'd be very educational for her to learn some fun facts. So first of all, Chuba, we've got Pompey, he's our dark one, and we have Jenga, he's our lighter colored giraffe. Now, giraffes are the tallest land animal. They can get up to 20 feet tall. That is pretty tall. Now, a lot of people ask, why do they need to be so tall? It's because they need to have those long necks to reach up and grab really high leaves at the top of the trees that normally other herbivores cannot reach. So they have a great advantage of having some food that other grazers cannot get. So they have about a 46 centimeter long tongue. Now, in an adult's arm, that's from your fingertips down to your elbow. So very cool to know that. Their tongue is a purple grayish color, and scientists believe it's because they have them saying it's to prevent from getting a sunburn on their tongue. Can you imagine sticking your tongue out in the African savanna heat all the time? Eventually you think you get a sunburn, right? So that's what scientists think. That is the reason why they have these colored tongues. They also have a lot of layer of mucus, very thick mucus on their tongue that helps protect them from any thorns or prickles that could be on one of the branches that they are eating. Now, when you do look out and pan around our enclosure, we have our two giraffes. When I said they eat leaves, well, you see there's no trees here, right? Because they destroy them. So luckily in British Columbia, we have a lot of trees in our backyard that the zookeepers can chop off some branches and give them to them as a little treat. They eat alfalfa hay and pellets inside their barn area as well. So when you are watching our giraffes eat our branches, you'll see they strip off all the bark and they take off all the leaves. So if we planted trees in the enclosure, they could be completely dead all the time. That'd be a lot of work, upgrading to more trees all the time. Now, a lot of people ask, can giraffes bend? Well, actually, they don't bend because they can't bend their knees like we can. So if they have to go all the way down to the bottom, they have to do the splits. And then, Chuba, they go all the way down to the bottom and all the way back up. Now, what's also really cool about a giraffe is they have about a 25 to 30 pound heart. That is a pretty big heart. So if you take your fist and you squeeze it together, make a fist, that's pretty much the size of our human heart. So can you imagine how big a giraffe's heart's gonna be, right? They need to have that heart to pump all that blood up to their necks, all down to their body. So that's why they have that big, big heart. Chuba thinks it's pretty cool. She's gonna look out at the giraffes. Now, what else we see is Pompey is darker than Jenga. Now, the reason he is darker than Jenga is because he's older than Jenga. So the older the animal's gonna get, the darker they're gonna look. It's the same thing with our male lion Boomer. The darker the mane, the older he is as well. So that's a little fun fact to know. If you do come to the Greater Vancouver Zoo and you see our lions, you'll see that Boomer has a really, really dark brown mane. And our giraffe Pompey has really, really dark spots. All right, everyone. So I think she was ready to go explore more of the zoo. So let's take her on a little tour. And as we're walking, she was going to take in some sights. We have the miniature train as well, guys. That's on our way. Looks like the train is disembarking. And we'll make sure Chuba doesn't get there. And all right. And I'm just gonna pause right here and give a wave to our public that's returned to the zoo. Hello. Perfect. All right, Chuba. Actually, we're going to stop here. Because Chuba just spotted a tortoise. We have Boris, our spurred tortoise, walking around, African spurred tortoise, actually. And these guys are herbivores as well. When you do see them eating the grass, that's all they basically eat. But their favorite type of treat is dandelion. So that's really fun to have in their enclosure. We're not going to have Chuba get on their fence. Yeah, you can't have that. She likes to talk back sometimes. So really cool thing about tortoises is their shell protects them from predators. So it's made of bone and skin. So the top part is called the carapace and the bottom's called the plastron. And together they're fused with tiny little bones. So if you ever do meet Boris and you can touch some of his shell, it is very important to be very gentle with him because he can feel everything that you're doing. So you don't want to bonk a tortoise or a turtle on their shell. They can feel it. So it's very important to be gentle with all animals. Now, he does not swim. Turtles and tortoises are completely different animals. So he does not have webbed toes. When you see a turtle, they've got the webbed toes and they have a smoother shell, whereas he has a very rocky shell and his legs, you can see there, they're more claws. So he's more adapted to living on the ground. Now, I'm not saying that they don't go and have some water for some hydration, because they do. They need water to survive. And in Africa, sometimes finding water might be very, very hard for these guys, for any animal. So their shells, actually, when they drink all that water, they can hold about 70% of their water weight. So that's pretty cool, right? She thinks it's pretty cool. Very good. What do you think, Chuba? Should we keep moving? I think we should. So let's go and see what other animals that we can find. It's almost like a safari hunt. Right? Let's see. We're going to go this way. Now, just so you all know, as I kick her first, Chuba here has her wings clipped. So it's just like our hair. It does grow back. So we only do that because we don't want Chuba flying away and we lose her. So it's just for her safety as well. So this is very exciting for Chuba. So where I'm heading now, everybody, is we're going down the path. And over to my left, we do have our lions enclosure, and some of our public is there at the moment. So we won't show you too much of our lions right now, because we are also doing a lot of social distancing here at the zoo. We have lots of maps out. We got paw prints as well, so it shows you where to go for one direction. And of course, as you saw, our miniature train is up and running as well. We have safety procedures as well for that to keep our health and safety up to code. Oh, Chuba like that. Yeah, you like that? Do you have any questions, Chuba? Oh, okay. Well, Chuba would like to know, because we are passing our giraffes again, is how old can giraffes live up to? Well, they say approximately 20 years old giraffes can live. But because they're here at the zoo, they've got what's called a veterinarian. So we could possibly get them to be even older because we have really good health care here as well. What do you think, Chuba? Should we go this way? All right, we're gonna go this way. What do you think? Beautiful day, isn't it? Now, other fun facts, we are approaching also our porcupine enclosure. Now, a lot of people think porcupines shoot their quills. Well, they don't. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna have their quills stand up in defense. And if a predator doesn't get the message, the really long quill, there's two of them on their body, will shake. And that's called a noisemaker quill. And then they have a really, really thick one at the end too. And that one is the defensive quill. So that's one that's gonna poke. So what they're gonna do is they'll either back up into their predator or they'll swing their big tail around as well. Those are the only reasons why these quills would come out. And also our zookeepers, they pick them up off the ground all the time. It's because it's like hair too. They fall out naturally and they're always constantly growing. Very cool, eh? Yeah, Chuba thinks it's cool. What else are we approaching? Well, next up on me and Chuba's left, we have our baboons enclosure. Now, baboons are very dangerous animals, okay? When you do meet our baboon, if he's up near the fence area and he's doing this, he's not smiling at you. That's a sign of aggression. So you don't want to tease any of our baboons because that is something that they don't like to do. They're very intelligent animals. They also have really red bums. They are our yellow baboons. And the reason they have red bums is because the females are telling the males that it's time to have babies. So that's very important for females to be able to tell these males so they can have babies, right? Yeah, Chuba thinks so. Now with Chuba though, if she found a mate, her babies would be in an egg. So she would have her babies come out of an egg, right? Yeah. But Chuba doesn't have a mate here at the zoo.
So Kat, as you're walking, I wonder if we can see if anyone has any questions. So far you've told us a little bit about Chuba, a little bit about the giraffe, and about Boris, the tortoise, and other animals. So boys and girls, I see that there's many of you here with us and a few classrooms as well. So does anyone have any questions so far for Kat about anything that you've heard? So if your camera is off, you can type your comment into the chat box, or if your camera is on, you can put up your hand and I can call on you and you can ask your questions. Does anyone have a question for us so far? Natalia, what's your question, kiddo?
Can the parrot say words?
So Chuba can say words, but it's up to her when she wants to talk. Usually she likes to talk when I'm talking, and I'll hear her spout some words here and there, but a lot of people won't pick up on it. But her favorite words to say is hello, bye-bye. She'll say I love you. She'll say pretty bird a lot. Are you pretty? Yeah, you are. So she'll fan out and show you that she's pretty. She also says uh-oh, and cracker is a very famous one. So actually, boys and girls, I have a special treat for you here because Chuba also has been doing very, very well. I brought to you a cracker. I know it's a nut, but to Chuba, that's cracker for her. Some zookeeper a long time ago thought to teach her the word cracker every time they gave her a nut, and that's how it's going down, right? So what I'm going to do is present it to her very nicely. Now, while we are watching Chuba eat her little snack right now, is there any other questions that you have?
So from Miss Richmond's class, Stella is wondering, why do giraffes have different colored tongues?
So the reason giraffes have that purpley gray tongue, that's the color that it's kind of shown, or like a black color, scientists believe it's to prevent them from getting a sunburn on their tongue. So if you were in the African savannah and you kept sticking your tongue out all the time to eat, eventually you think you'd get a sunburn, right? So scientists believe that's why they have that type of coloring on their tongue, and they don't know any further than that why they have that color to help them prevent a sunburn.
Awesome. Does anyone else have a question that you would like to ask Kat right now before she continues taking us on our little adventure through the zoo? Sasha, you have a question?
Okay. He said, how many animals are at the zoo?
Oh, that's a very good question. So we have about 140 different species of animals at the zoo, and we have about 120 acres of land to keep them in.
Awesome. So another question that we have is from Elizabeth. She is wondering why don't tortoises swim?
So tortoises do not swim because they don't have the build for it. So when we have Boris out, if we were to put him in water, which we would never do, he would sink to the bottom of the water. His shell is super heavy, so it's like carrying a big boulder. Boris is approximately 91 pounds, so he's not very light. So he's not adapted to swim, and he doesn't have webbed toes. So you need webbed toes to swim and glide. It's almost like a flipper, right? And he doesn't have a smooth, soft shell because turtles have a very light-weighted shell that lets them glide through that water a lot easier than a tortoise does. So they're specifically for land, whereas turtles, they'll swim through the water. They've got their webbed toes and they have that soft shell.
Awesome, thank you. So I see a couple more questions. Rory, and then I have one in the comments from Miss Richmond's student. So Rory, let me unmute you there. Rory.
Why do giraffes have horns?
That's a very good question, Rory. So they're actually not called horns, they're called ossicones. So they're made of bone and skin, and they have them to fight other rival males for girlfriends. So that's the point of it, just as a protection. Just like porcupines have quills, giraffes have ossicones to help defend and help get girlfriends. And also another way that they can fight is they'll throw their neck back and forth, and it's called a clubbing motion.
Awesome. So one of Miss Richmond's students, Blake, would like to know, why do porcupines have quills?
Why do porcupines have quills? Well, they have quills on their body to protect them from predators. So they don't have the best eyesight, okay? They have a pretty good sense of smell, but they can't see very well. Porcupines are nocturnal animals, meaning they only come out at night. So they have this adaptation, which I love talking about adaptations. It's something inside or on the outside of an animal's body that helps protect them in their habitat so they can survive. So they were adapted to growing this type of quill, and it helps them when they're eating. They'll have their quills up because if any predator sneaks up behind them, they'll get poked and a quill will be in the face, and it does not feel good, so the predator will run off.
What is your question? I see your sister has her hand up. What's your question?
How do turtles eat?
Ooh, very good question. So turtles eat just like any other animal does. They don't have teeth, but they have almost what's like a beak. So if you see Chuba's beak here, it's the same thing. They have very sharp outer areas, like a beak, that helps munch and break down all that grass. Now, they don't eat very, very strong food. So it's only grass, or sometimes dandelions, weeds that we feed them or that tortoises would find. And they just kind of munch it all together, and that's how they eat it. And it ends up being very mushy. And if they can't fully digest it, that's okay, because we always see a lot of grass in their poop, but that's just how their body is able to digest, is that kind of food. Because if they were meat eaters, if they were carnivores, they don't have teeth to really break down that food. So that wouldn't be so good. So they were made to have grass. So herbivores.
Do you have anywhere else to take us, Kat? Or is this
Yes, I do. So Chuba was just telling me that she would like to go see the hippos.
Okay.
All right. All right, Chuba. So here we are with the Hippo enclosure, and next to us we have on the right, we got our wallabies and our kangaroos. So that's pretty exciting. Now, I do see we have a hippo in sight. I know she's pretty excited. We're gonna go see our hippo. Don't worry, I'm not feeding into the hippo. I love talking about hippos, boys and girls. They are another favorite animal of mine. And we're just gonna have our media person pan out to show you our hippo right there before I talk. All right, so Chuba. I'm gonna introduce Chuba to our hippo way off in the distance. That's our hippo. Can you say hippo? She'll learn it eventually. Hippo, yeah. Pretty exciting stuff. This is also really good enrichment for Chuba. She loves coming outside and getting to know the animals herself as well. Now, hippos, when you look at them, they look like giant African water potatoes, right? But they're not. Hippos are one of the dangerous animals in Africa, one of them. So they don't eat meat. They are not carnivores, but just because you're not a carnivore does not mean you're not one of the most dangerous animals, okay? They are herbivores, so they only eat grass, alfalfa, some produce. Sometimes the zookeepers give them leaves and like on twigs and branches, some browse, so they like that as a treat. They don't feed them a lot of produce because, believe it or not, they don't want them to get overweight, because a lot of produce has a lot of sugar in it. So we don't want them getting really, really overweight. Chuba's just panning out looking at the hippo. So we have Hazina way over there. Hazina's our female hippo, and we got her from the Granby Zoo in Quebec. Now, a lot of people know Hazina because she is actually a superstar here at the Greater Vancouver Zoo. She is the famous Tellus hippo. She was 9 months old when they shot that commercial. It's still being played here and there. but she is retired now because she is pretty close to 4,000 pounds. Now, the heaviest hippo that has been recorded has been 8,000 pounds, and that was a male in the wild, and that's how big they can be. Males are usually a lot heavier than females. When a baby hippo is born, get this, it's 100-pound hippo, okay? That's 10 times the size of a baby, of like a human baby being born. So that poor hippo is only going to give birth once or twice a year, not all the time, because that's a very heavy baby to have. Now, these guys are also part aquatic, so they need water and land to survive. So that's why we have water here. In the winter, we have a built-in swimming pool for them too. If it's too dangerous to be outside in the winter, they're locked up inside with a giant big pool, so that's really good to have. And in Africa, one of our hippos is just laughing. That would be Haven. He's inside the barn area taking a nap. So they do that grunting noise. The reason they do that grunting noise is basically territory, okay? So they'll make that noise like, I don't want you near my territory. So in Africa, if you're ever in a boat, in a canoe, which you wouldn't be because that's pretty dangerous, and you hear that grunting, you better get away because a hippo can be right underneath you. They can hold their breath for about 5 minutes to a half hour. And they can also sleep underwater as well. Yeah, wow. They have a built-in membrane that allows them to come up, take a breath of air, and go right back down without even waking up. They also can see really well underwater because they have these really big eyes. So they have a clear membrane around the eye, and it almost acts like a pair of goggles for us. Now, when you're looking at our hippos, it looks like possibly they could swim, right? You've seen hippos in the water, but I want you to really take a look at them. Do they look like a swimmer's body to you? Do they really? The answer is no, hippos don't swim. It is a locomotion called punting. So it's like us being chest deep in the water and we're running to shore. That is the hippo motion. So if you're ever at the beach or you're going swimming and you're running to shore and you're half up to your chest in water, you're moving like the hippo. So it's the same kind of motion. What they do is they go to the bottom and they run across the bottom and they kick up off of it. So that's how they move. Another cool thing, if you ever do come to the zoo and see a type of red substance on their skin, don't worry, they're not injured. It's called blood sweat. So it's part acidic and it's supposed to help them keep moist, like a moisturizer, and also prevents from getting any infections. If they get a cut or scrape, that blood sweat acts as an antibiotic and will help seal it up. So that's really handy for them to survive in the wild with, especially if they can't get to water in time. That blood sweat will come out of their pores and it's a little gooey and it keeps their skin nice and moist so that they don't dry out. Because like I said, they are part aquatic. When we're looking at their mouth, they open it up about 180 degrees. That's a wide mouth to open. And you'll see they have these big tusks. That's not what they chew with. They have little tiny teeth in the back of their mouth. And that's what they chew with. It's almost like cow teeth. And the tusks are used to play with other hippos or to fight. Now, I'm just gonna let you guys end it here. And if you have any questions, let me know because I can talk hours more about hippos, but I'll let you guys end it with some questions.
We have a few more minutes, so if you do have a question, you can put up your hand and ask your question. First, from Miss Richmond's students, Stella has another wonder. She's wondering why does Chuba have such long tail feathers?
That's a good question. So she has very long tail feathers to help her glide while she is flying. So it's like an airplane. It's almost like a rudder. So when she's flying in the sky, the tail helps her balance and it helps catch the wind, same with her wings, and helps turn them back and forth. So it's really good to have really good long tail feathers or feathers in general so that they can fly gracefully through the air.
Awesome. Perhaps another week, Kat, we can talk more about adaptations and the different animals, like the different things that animals have that specifically help them survive in their environment. Rory has a question. Rory, what's your question, bud?
Which country, Kat, do hippos come from?
So you would find hippos in Africa, actually. And I didn't tell you about their predators. Their predators are actually crocodiles or alligators because they go after hippo babies. They go after their calves. because it's only 100-pound hippos. So the female hippos have to be very protective of their babies, and the males are very protective of their females. And they have like one male in a herd, like one dominant male who runs the whole hippo gang. You can have like approximately 100 hippos in one herd. So they're all protecting each other, and you would find them in Africa, and that's where they're really dangerous. And there's a lot of problems out there with hippos because farmers keep seeing hippos get up on their land because they also like to eat at dawn and dusk. So they'll go up there, and it's called hippo grazing because they're herbivores. So they'll start eating farmers' produce, farmers' grasses, and it can be a really big problem there. So they're quite aggressive.
So Mrs. Webb would like to know, what does the zoo feed the hippos?
So we here feed the hippos grass or alfalfa. That's what these guys would eat. And then occasionally they'll get a special treat, just like I've been doing with Chuba here. I've been giving her nuts. That's a special treat for her. It's not part of her diet. It's just a treat. They'll give them either watermelons or apples as a treat for produce.
So I saw another question. The screen name says Elizabeth. What is your question?
How do turtles swim?
I think you guys were talking about the lighter shed.
So turtles swim, they swim with their feet. They have webbed toes, and it helps them glide like this. And also their shell is very light and it's very smooth. So the shell also helps them glide through the water. So basically they're gonna swim with their webbed toes.
Awesome. So Weston would like to know how fast hippos can run on land.
Oh, that is a fantastic question. I love answering that. So believe it or not, hippos can get up to 30 kilometers an hour on land and be as fast as a speedboat in the water or a motorboat. So on YouTube, if you type in hippo chases speedboat, you're gonna see a gentleman in Africa who has filmed a hippo launching himself out of the water and crushing down. So that is a good reason why we say they are dangerous. They're very extremely territorial of their water. So you gotta watch out for these guys because we don't go into our animals' enclosures. If we did, as much as we love to feed our animals, they would still come after us. So we gotta be very, very careful. So they can get pretty fast. I can't outrun a hippo. Right, Gina? Oh, I know.
All right, so we have just a couple minutes left here today. So boys and girls, if you have a question, put your hand up high and wave it around so that I can see it. But there's a question from Semiamu School. And the question, Kat, is what is your favorite animal at the zoo?
Oh man, that's an easy question, but it's also hard because we love all our animals here at the zoo. They all have personalities and characteristics that we love and adore them. But my favorite animals, I do have a list. You see one right here. This is Chuba, and she's a blue and gold macaw. She's one of my favorites. She's like my best friend at the zoo. She's loved by all. Chuba's been here for a while. And my other favorite that I've loved since I was a kid, yes, Chuba, I love you too, is our Siberian Tiger. So when I was a little girl, I always loved Siberian tigers and still to this day. And that would be our tiger, Hannah. And she's 9 years old. And we got her from the Seoul Zoo in South Korea. And she's quite an amazing tiger. She loves to be up close near the fence, greeting people. She's very social, likes the attention.
When we were at the zoo yesterday, my family met up with Kat, and you may have seen the video on our Facebook page. What I didn't mention in the video was behind us in that video, you can actually see Hannah walking past the fence. So she was very social yesterday, coming out to see us. And I think, well, my favorite animal for sure is a giraffe, but I think right now my favorite animal at the zoo is Hannah, because I learned that we are birthday buddies, that our birthdays are both on May 9th, and so we share a birthday. So for me, that's a special thing then. But we have a couple more questions. I see Rory and Natalia have a couple questions, and if you haven't reached out yet, you can always comment on the videos when we do post them on Facebook, and we can try and get those answered either in the comments there or in a video in the next one. So, Rory has a question. What's your question, bud?
What are turtles' predators?
Well, turtles' predators more so is us actually, buddy, humans. So with us developing a lot of housing around their environment, it does put a population crisis on our hands with turtles. A lot of predators you would see, well, I'm thinking like African wise, like a lot of jaguars could do that, can be their predators, but it's mostly humans that can be a problem with turtles.
All right. So the last question that we have from someone is Natalia has another question. Natalia, what is your question?
I have two quick ones. I saw a same kind of parrot that you have at Singapore Zoo, and my mom's sister at Singapore, she has a turtle, and two cats, now a bird.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So to end our time, we have a very serious question from Miss Richmond's students. So Miss Richmond, it says that Blake is wondering if you would be able to walk the lion on a leash.
Would I be able to walk a lion on a leash? That's a question?
That is a question. Would you walk a lion on a leash, Kat?
Okay. No, we would not walk a lion on a leash. They are very dangerous animals. They are apex predators. Apex meaning they are top of the food chain. So our male lion is approximately 400 pounds, and they eat about 60 pounds of meat in one sitting. So if we had our lion out here, he would tower over top of me, and it's a very dangerous situation. He could jump on us. They can run approximately 50 kilometers an hour. So we basically would be in a lot of danger. He would attack us. So it's not a, no, we would not walk a lion on a leash at all.
I figured that would be your answer, but
Yeah.
anyhow. So one of the things actually which makes me think is one of the things that we've learned through our time with you over the past couple of months is a lot of your animals at the zoo have actually been surrendered to you by people who thought it would be a good idea to have big animals as a pet. And so that's the story with Boomer as well, right?
Yes, that is correct. Our male lion used to be illegally owned by somebody in Toronto, and he was kept at the age of 2 years old in a basement suite, and he broke out. And a police officer actually found him on the side of the road and put him in the back of his cop car. And then he got transferred to the police jail. And then after that, they transferred him to the Granby Zoo in Quebec. But they already had a male lion there. So you can't have two male lions together. They would fight over territory. So our male lion at the time passed away from old age. So we have our two females, and we were able to get Boomer. And now Boomer and our two girls are together in a pride.
Well, thank you guys very much for joining us. Kat, thank you for taking us on a bit of a walking tour around the zoo. I look forward to coming to the zoo next week. So boys and girls, let's say thank you to Kat for joining us today. Wave like this, say thank you very much.